Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanora Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi of Vidyaranya Swami, and we just completed the sloka 5. This is of the 7th chapter, sloka 5. The 7th chapter is Trupti Deepa Prakaranam. So Trupti is contentment that can be achieved, full contentment that can be achieved with the Jnanam. And that's what is being. And the whole chapter is essentially a commentary on the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that says Atmanam Ched Vijaniyat. So Atma has to be known or should be known. And Aham Asmi iti Purusha. Purusha, a Jiva, should know that his own self, Atmanam. And essentially Aham Asmi, that I am, is essentially that Atma. Atma is not some object, it is my own nature, the consciousness, existence that I am has to be known, and that is essentially the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in the 4th chapter, in the 4th section, 4th Brahmana, and the 12th mantra. It says, and once you recognize that I am Atma, and it says essentially Kimichan Kasya, so the Kasya Kamaya. So what is there for him to gain? That possible only that Atma that I am is Brahman. That means infinite, there is nothing else because everything is there, and therefore who wants what? Who desires what? And to whom it is required? And Sariram Anusajvait. And the problems of the Sariram, problems of the body does not belong to him. That is essentially the statement of the Upanishad, and the whole chapter that consists of close to 300 verses, Vidyaranya, is only explanation of, exhaustive explanation of that mantra. So in this mantra that we started, he is explaining the Purushaha in that statement. Says in the Atmanam Ched Vijaniyat Aham Asmiti Purushaha. Purushaha, the Jiva, has to know. So who is Jiva? That's being defined first, so that once we define who is Jiva, then we can ask him to know that Atmanam. That's what the statement of the Upanishad. And it is a Vidhi Vakyam because he should know. Why should he know? If he wants to get out of this samsara. That's the implication that even though it is a Vidhi Vakyam, that it is a statement that as long as he feels uncomfortable with the samsara and he is struggling hard to make it two ends meet, in that case, what should he do in order to solve the problem? And that's exactly what the Upanishad is. In that case, you have to know, you should know your own self, true nature, because you are taking what you are not as you are. And we did sloka 5. So we just chant it and then further go ahead. Brahmadishtana bhutatma, Brahmadishtana bhutatma, Kutastha sanga chidvapuhu, Kutastha sanga chidvapuhu, Anyonyadhyasato sangaha, Anyonyadhyasato sangaha, Dhista jivotra purushaha, Dhista jivotra purushaha. So who is the Purusha? Is essentially being defined. The Purushaha, the Purusha is Brahmadishtana bhutatma kutastha sangachid vipuhu. So there is adhishtanam, there is what I am, this is the problem, and this is our common understanding. So who are you? I am this. Whether at the physical level, at the emotional level, or at the intellectual. Physical level, I say I am this body, and this body is 5 feet or 6 feet long, or a brown skin or a white skin or a black skin, and the color of the skin becomes I am black, I am white, I am brown, and so on and so forth. So I am this is my the explanation of who am I, and that's what is the Purusha means. I understand myself, I am this. That's all my whole life is. And anytime, who are you? I have to say I am this. It's only for, not for transaction only, but I take it as a granted, that's all I am. And this is always is not that, and this is here and not there. So it is, and this is not any other object that I can perceive. So this is limited by the space-wise, time-wise, and object-wise. And also this keeps changing, because the body, mind, intellect, starting from, it continuously keeps changing, and the body that I had when I was a child is different from body that I had when I was an adult, and so on and so forth. And the modifications are occurring as I become older and older. Some of the things are not working that used to work, and so on and so forth. So modification of the mind continuously until the body cannot function anymore and it kicks the bucket. And that's essentially is the nature of the body. Emotionally, mind, what I felt emotionally, my likes and dislikes when I was young is different from my likes and dislikes when I was growing up, and when I was a teenager, when I was an adult, and when I am getting old. All things keep changing. My intellectual personality also changes as I become an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I am that, now I'm retired, and so on. So the qualifications of the intellect is also keep changing. So body, mind, intellect is changing. All my transactions, I am only identifying I am this with respect to body, mind, intellect. And the whole world is also changing continuously. The whole environment is changing, because continuously yesterday's environment is tomorrow is not the same. Dinaya minyo sayam prataha sasiravasanto punarayataha kala kridati gachat vayu. So essentially Tadapi Asha Vayu. Essentially, Shankara says in the Pasagovindam, says, Dinaya minyo sayam pratha. Day comes and day goes. And seasons come and seasons go. Years come and years go. So goes on, and then what is that I have accomplished in life? All I can say is, I have lived. That's all it can say. And nothing can be remembered. Even the society will forget after few days of lamenting. Somebody will lament. Somebody may be happy also. And once it's gone, you are forgotten in the world. This is the life. And that's what we have all this associated with. Desha kala vastu parichinnatvam. It is limited by space, time-wise, space-wise, object-wise, and so on. But this keeps changing. There has to be something, adhishtanam. Adhishtanam means a substantive that is changeless. When something is changing, there has to be changeless entity. How do you say here? That's a law of conservation. If X changes into Y, there is some that doesn't change in this change, in the changing from X to Y. That's exactly what we do in the balancing equation that we learn in the chemistry. What do we? So we struggle hard at that time trying to balance how many hydrogen atoms here, the same number of hydrogen atoms there. Why? That's because there is a law of conservation. Even though A plus B is changing into C plus D, but in the process there has to be something changeless in that, and that changeless entity we call it law of conservation of mass and energy also. So both are conserved in the transformation. And that what is essentially balancing equation means the amount of matter this side has to be amount of matter that side. Now in the balancing, not only amount of water, we want to make sure hydrogen remains as hydrogen, oxygen remains as oxygen, and all are conserved in that way. And therefore we have to balance, make sure that this side is same as that side, even though combination and how the associations keep changing. But that's only at the superficial level. At the substantive level, the mass remains the same, energy they remain same. from the point of absolute conservation, Krishna says in the second chapter of Gita, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. So, explanation of the na asato vidyate bhavo, the non-existence can never cease to exist, and non-existence can never come into existence, and existence can never cease to exist. In a way, it's a law of conservation from the point of Sat. So, according to that, the Sat is conserved in all transactions. That's what is essentially becomes Adhishtanam. The substantive for the whole universe is nothing but Sat only. It means existence alone. And existence is conserved according to the Krishna's law of conservation, and this is an absolute law of conservation. Matter can change energy, matter may disappear, but existence cannot disappear. That's exactly what he means by Nasato vidyate bhava. Non-existence cannot come into existence, and existence cannot cease to exist. Only one form of existence is converted into another form of existence, and that is the whole concept of this, the essential law of conservation that is absolutely valid at the absolute scale, and that's what Krishna essentially makes a statement. Therefore, the adhishtanam, the substantive cannot change in the process. A substantive has to remain in all transactions in the world. So essentially he says, Brahma adhisthana bhutatma kutastha sangachit vipuhu. So Brahmadi Adhisthana bhutatma kutastha sangachit vapuhu. So the kutastha sangachit, essentially the kutastha asanga vapuhu, that is the non-changing kutastha. Essentially we are talking about the consciousness which is the substratum for the whole universe, and that cannot change. Kutastha asangaha, it is not associated with anything, and that is who its swarupam is chit swarupam. So that consciousness cannot change, undergo. Why consciousness does not undergo any change? If consciousness undergoes a change, then who will be conscious of that? There has to be another consciousness that is conscious of the changing of this consciousness, and that consciousness cannot change. And if that also changes, then we need another one, and it becomes ad infinitum. So essentially, consciousness remains as it is, and Scripture says consciousness is Brahman, Prajnanam Brahma. Therefore, consciousness cannot undergo any modifications, and that is this Swarupam, and Brahmadhisthana Bhutatma. So, essentially, the substratum or the Adhara or the changeless thing in all the changing in the Vyavaharika Mithya means that she is continuously changing. And what is the changeless entity is nothing but that absolute law of, that is absolute consciousness, kutastham, which is of the chit swarupam. It is of the nature of consciousness. And so the statement is that even though the whole thing is mithya means that which is neither exists nor exists, it is vyavaharika satyam, and that vyavaharika satyam, that's what the transactional world where I am, this part is mithya, and the whole jagat is also mithya, so everything is mithya. That mithya should have a adhishtanam, the support, that which is changeless, and the support is nothing but pure consciousness. That's what he says. So vyavaharasya satyam, mind and the whole universe. Adhishtanam, the substratum or substantive of all that is kutastha asanga vapuhu chit vapuhu. It is kutastham, it's called kutastham, and that is essentially the chit swarupam. It is of the nature of chit, and it is its nature. And anyonya adhyasad adhyasatah, see asango dhista jivatra purushaha. So anyonya adhyato sangaha. So anyonya adhyasa, so the mutual superimposition is happening, and that is the cause for essentially purusha. What is mutual? The mutual the superimposition says there are essentially the consciousness, and there is the mind and the body and mind, which are essentially product of the subtle material and the gross material, and that happens in the process of creation. The Brahman first creates, Ishvara first creates the 5 subtle elements, of which this mind and Antakarana formed, and then by Panchikarana the gross material is formed, and by that the whole world, 14 lokas, and the bodies of all the jivas in all the 14 lokas are formed. That's what has been explained before, and that is inert. And pure consciousness, Kutastha, is Atma, is consciousness. And now Anyonya Adhyasa, there is a mutual superimposition. The superimposition is the mind and intellect, that is subtle material, grasp the qualities of the consciousness by the reflection process. So it takes the consciousness as its property by mutual adhyasa, and the consciousness as though takes the role of I am this, I am that, is essentially is taking the properties of the inert material as his properties, and that's what is called mutual adhyasa. And Shankaracharya, we said, starts with the adhyasa bhasha, explaining this mutual anyonya adhyasa, where the adhyasa is defined as the Satsyanuta Mithunikaranam Adhyasam, where the mixing of the real and unreal things. Unreal is the mithya, which is essentially the whole Prakriti forms, the Maya forms the inert things, and that is not really real, therefore it is called Anrutam. And Satyam, that which remains the same all the periods of time, that alone is Satyam, and therefore that is pure Sat Chit Ananda Swarupam. And these two together, mixing together, so Satsyanuta Mithunikaranam, a mixing of together, where the properties of this is superimposed on that, and the properties of that is superimposed on this. So when I say I exist, and I am conscious entity, so the consciousness and existence of the Brahman is being superimposed in I am this. When I say that I am superimposing on this, therefore I am this is my whole Maya data. I am superimposing pure existent consciousness on this which is inert. That's what is essentially the Purusha is nothing but a superimposed Anyonya Adhyasa of the pure consciousness and the inert material Maya together is forming a combination, and that is essentially a Jiva. So it defined a Purusha that was in the mantra of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Who is Purusha? So what is exactly Jiva? With all these things we should know clearly what exactly is Jiva. All pervading consciousness, all pervading. That is essentially Kutastha, which is called Kutastha. That is which is reflecting in the local body, mind, intellect. So imagine the whole consciousness, the whole light is all over here, and that part of the light that is falling in my hand, and there is a part of the light that is a law falling on the table and the wall, everything else. So even though the light is uniform, but only that part of that light, original light that is falling on my hand, is what is called the localized light, and that's what is called Kutastha. So assume consciousness is all pervading, and that part of the consciousness that is falling on the local body, mind, intellect, particularly the buddhi, and that is essentially Kutastha Chaitanyam. Now as the light is falling on the hand, like the hand reflects that light, and that's what you are seeing. So when you're seeing my hand, you are not seeing the original light, you are only seeing the reflected light by the reflection occurring by the hand. So you are seeing the form of the hand because the reflecting light carries that form with it. So that reflected light is what is called Chidabhasa. So all pervading consciousness getting reflected in the buddhi, and the reflection is Chidabhasa. Now reflection takes the form of the hand. Pure consciousness doesn't have any form. So pure consciousness now has become a reflected consciousness and taking the property of the reflecting medium, and that's what is called Adhyasa. Pure consciousness is Chitvapuhu, is uncontaminated, there are no forms or anything, but yet as though when it forms on the local buddhi, it reflects. Why does it reflect? It says, I am shining myself, I have nothing to do with the reflection. But the medium is such that it reflects. Hand is such that it is reflecting the light. If hand doesn't reflect, then you cannot see the hand. So buddhi has a capacity to reflect. Why buddhi? Because it's a subtle material and it's like a mirror, so it reflects any light that is falling. And this is not any other light, it is light of consciousness. So when you see my hand, so light is reflected, that light is only going into your eyes to form an image. In the same way, my hand is not luminous entity. By itself it doesn't shine. I need a light for you to see. In the same way, buddhi is not conscious entity. But by the process of the reflection, buddhi has become a conscious entity, just as the moon has become a luminous entity. Luminosity is not a property of the moon, but reflecting sunlight, it has become a luminous entity. And therefore, the luminosity of the moon is not due to the moon, but due to sunlight that is falling on it. Same way, the consciousness that is exhibited by the buddhi, because I say I am conscious, who is saying? It is the intellect only saying, because pure consciousness cannot say anything. So it is a buddhi only saying I am conscious entity. How can it be conscious? By the reflection of the original consciousness. So it is a borrowed consciousness as though from the pure consciousness. So this is a jiva. Jiva, inert entity, that is the buddhi, which is the inert entity, now acquired a status of a conscious entity by the process of the reflection. That is the adhishtanam is not by reflection process, is Chidabhasa. Also, the buddhi itself is a product of the Brahman, because there is nothing other than Brahman. Brahman being infinite, there cannot be anything other than Brahman. If something other than the Brahman, then we have a problem. Brahman cannot be Brahman. So therefore, even the reflecting medium also is the Sat aspect of that, of the totality. The way I explain this is essentially, those people who are familiar with the light has 7 colors. That is called Vibjayar or Vibgayar and so on, starting with violet all the way to the red. So V-I-B-G, V-I-B-Y-A-R, G-Y-A-R, Vibgayar. And therefore there are 7 colors essentially, V-I-B-G-Y-A-R. Maybe I might have missed it, but anyway, 7 colors. And the 7 colors consists of the white light or regular light, and when it falls on the object and it gets reflected, and that's what we see, an object in the light. Without the light we cannot see an object, because the object doesn't have light of its own. Now when we say this color, this object is red color, other object is blue color, where do they get red color or blue color? And say, oh, that's a material property. Material property is actually, if it is a dark, you don't differentiate between the red object and a blue object. So it's not a blue color and the red color is not a material property. What is happening is the total light is falling, the 7 colors that are mixed of the 7 colors is falling, and an object looks red when it absorbs all other colors except red. So only red part is coming to me, and the other object is blue because it has a property to absorb all other colors except blue. So same way, when you look at around different varieties of colors, and different shades of colors, all depending upon the degree of absorption of in the spectra of the 7 colors, and that's why you get different colors. If all are absorbed, then it is black. If nothing is absorbed, then it's transparent also. So all that has to be understood. And the same way we are talking about Satchidananda Swarupa Akhandam, which is say Satya Eva Chit, so that which is pure existent consciousness, limitless, when it's falling on different, as though falling on different objects, and depending upon the nature of the object, reflection occurs. It's nothing to do with Satchidananda. Therefore, reflection occurs depending upon the reflecting medium. Just as red is reflecting everything except red color, and reflecting absorbing all other colors except red color. Same way, blue is absorbing all colors except the blue. Only reflected is blue is coming out. Everything else is absorbed. And the same way, an inert object is only the inert aspect of it, that is, existence aspect is only exhibited because everything else is absorbed. Nothing is coming out. So essentially, we are talking about it appears that even though Satchidananda is infinite, and the objects look inert only because it can only reflect the existence aspect of it and not the conscious part of it, and not Ananda part of it. Whereas when it comes to subtle material, like the Antakarana, depending on the purity of the subtle material, the reflection of not only existence but consciousness also occurs. Therefore, the subtle material behaves as though a conscious and existent entity. And Ananda is not reflected. For Ananda also to get reflected, that Antakaranam has to be calm, quiet, serene, shantam, then Ananda also gets reflected. And whenever the desire is fulfilled, that Antakaranam becomes calm and quiet momentarily. At that time, the Ananda gets reflected. So for Ananda, the happiness to get reflected, the Antakaranam has to be calm and quiet, unagitated. And that's exactly the gradations. So therefore, even though Satchidananda, Chit is infinite and Sat is infinite and Chit and Sat are same, the reflection of that in each media depends upon the nature of the media and nothing to do with the Chit. So people ask question, how come if consciousness is infinite, I don't see consciousness in the inert material, in the dead body there is no consciousness, in the stone there is no consciousness. All these questions arise because of the reflecting medium properties are getting superimposed on the pure consciousness. That's also adhyasa, superimposition of something another. So that's essentially is the Purushaha. So a Purushaha is one who has obviously not only the body but the mind and intellect, Antakaranam. And we have in the previous chapter 1 we exhaustively discussed what constitutes how subtle elements form the Manomaya and Pranamaya and Vijnanamaya, whereas the gross element form the cross body Annamaya Kosham. All that we have discussed. So all these kosha, all the Pancha Koshas are formed by the combination of either subtle or the gross materials, and consciousness is getting reflected in the buddhi because that is what the subtle material capable of reflecting not only existence but consciousness also. And that reflection of the consciousness also depends upon the purity of the buddhi. If the buddhi is impure, then even though reflection occurs, it is very dull. Why? Because it's not polished. That's why you say this mirror is dull, because it's not reflecting completely. So you have to polish the mirror or polish the vessel, or because it's not reflecting beautifully that property. And that's exactly the buddhi also. When it gets dirty, and the dirt comes from what? And that comes from Rajo and Tamo gunas. And that's what we explained. The Purusha is a reflection of Asuddha Sattvam. That is, in the Sattvam, the Sattva guna, it has impurities of Rajo and Tamo guna, and that, because of that, it is a reflection. Avidya, we call it Avidya, is due to the Jiva. Whereas Ishvara is also a reflection, but in the pure Sattva guna only. Maya reflection only. Maya is a Suddha Sattva Swarupam. That means Sattva Swarupam or Sattva Guna is for the intelligence or the knowledge, and therefore Ishvara, since he is a reflection of pure Sattvam, therefore is the Sarvajnaha. And whereas the Jiva, the Sat is only small, and Rajas and Tamo are more, depending upon the nature of the Jiva. And different Jivas of different lokas is only because of these combinations keep changing. So we have the buddhi depending upon the impurities and so on, and that's what essentially reflection of Asuddha Maya, and that's what is Purusha. And for reflection there is the Adhishtanam, that is in terms of the existent Sat part for the material, and for the Chit part, reflection of the consciousness. Both are involved for the Purusha. With that, we go to the 6th mantra, 6th verse. Sadhisthano vimokshado, sadhisthano vimokshado, jivo dikriyate natu, jivo dikriyate natu, kevalo niradhisthana, kevalo niradhisthana, vibhrante kvapya siddhataha, vibhrante kvapya siddhataha. So, sa adhisthano vimokshado, jivo adhikriyate. So, up to that, so the jivaha adhikriyate. Jiva is the adhikari for, so mokshado, for the moksha, etc. For he wants to get liberated, that's what is adhikari for that. He wants to go down the drain, that's also is adhikari for that. So jivaha is adhikriyate. How? Sa adhisthano, along with the kutastha chaitanyam. So jiva has the kutastha chaitanyam and the reflecting medium and the reflection, all are involved in the kutastha. So along with all that, jiva, the Purusha, is adhikari, can be qualified for moksha, for liberation, with the kutastha also. Sa adhishtanam, along with the kutastha. And natu kevalo niradhisthana vibhrante kapya siddhataha. So here is natu kevalo, and you cannot have just the jiva, just the buddhi and antakarana, all those panchakoshas and all that we have discussed. You cannot have that alone without the kutastha, without the support, adhishtanam. Without the adhishtanam, you cannot have the vyavahara. So in a very vyavahara, Lord is there, and the kutastha chaitanyam is also there. The substantive, the Satchidananda Brahman is also there. So what do I have to do? Go to see Brahman. Everywhere Brahman is there, because Brahman is being infinite, he has to be there in the world. But I don't see it. Yes, you don't see it because I am paying attention to the reflecting media and not to the one that is getting reflected. That's all the problem. So look at my hand again. If you say, I am seeing the hand, you are saying, are you seeing my hand? Yes. Or you are able to see the hand by what? Because of the light getting reflected. But can you see the original light that is falling on the hand? You cannot. Why? It is imperceptible. You can only see a light that is falling on the hand, getting reflected, and the reflected light only you can see, not the original light. Original light is imperceptible. And even the reflected light you cannot see as a light, but you can only see as a reflecting medium only. The image of the reflecting medium only you can see. You can only see a hand, you can see any object, you can see, because every object is a reflecting media for reflecting the light that is falling on it. I cannot see the original light, I can only see reflected light, and even the reflected light I cannot see, I can only see reflected light via the object. You say, are you seeing the light? I can say, I am seeing your hand. Essentially, implication is I am not paying attention to the reflected light also. All that is implied, and same happens to the consciousness. So we can easily understand that light of consciousness cannot be noticed, but without the light of consciousness nothing can survive. Not only from the reflection, the buddhi cannot be conscious and it can be inert, and also even from the point of the existence, also without the existence nothing can exist. So where is the existence? Where is Brahman? He says even Brahman is in every object. Why do you say that? Because the object is. So when you say, Bob, this is a chair, this is a table, this is a desk, what are we saying? There is a table, there is a table, there is something, there is. Because if it is not there, you cannot say there is nothing. If nothing means some aspect, you cannot say there is no Gaga Bobu here. Because Gaga Bobu is an object that I know before, then only I can say there is no Gaga Bobu. So existence or non-existence of an object that is known already, that can be formulated, can only say in terms of the superficial, by its presence or absence exists. And therefore, Gaga Babu has to exist somewhere for me to say there is no Gaga Babu here. Pot is not here, because pot, I know there is a pot of this form and shape, and existence of the pot is prior established, and I don't see any object with those attributes of the pot. That's all implication is when I say there is no pot here. But there is no, 1,000 other things are not there also. But you don't say, because I am looking for a pot, therefore I say there is no pot here. You can say there is no this one here, there is no that one there. You can list lot of millions of things that are not there, but you are not interested. You are only interested in the pot whose qualifications that you know. Oh, there is no blue pot here. You say all other pots are there, but that is not the pot that I am looking for. I am looking for only blue pot. That means I have preconceived notion that I am looking for there. All that is implied, but the existence part is expressed as there is, there is, there is. So every object is existence is involved. And where exactly existence is involved? If I say a hand, where exactly existence is involved in the hand? Every part of the hand, when you say there is that part, the isness is there. Without the form, I cannot recognize the existence. And so I need the form to recognize the existence also. So that's essentially, without the adhishthanam, there cannot be any object perception, or cannot be established any object also. So kevalo, so natu kevalo niradhishthanam vibhrante, natu vibhrantehe. So kwa api siddhitaha. So there is never there is never a case where without the existence as the substantive present, existence of any object. So in fact, without the adhishthanam, without the support from which, there cannot be a ring without the gold. If it is a golden ring, say from gold it came, by gold it is sustained into gold back. Sir, give me a ring without the gold. He says, how can I give a ring without? I can give iron ring. No, I don't want any material, but just only name and a form. So I cannot have a kevalaha, so niradhishthanam, without being from which it support that which it supports, and that supporting is nothing but the material cause. So without the material cause, I cannot have any substance, and that's what essentially this is a rhetorical question is posed here. Says Kopi Siddhita, it can never exist any material without the substantive. Same way, so adhisthana vimokshadi jivaha adhikriyate. So even for jiva, I want to become liberated. How does he get liberated? with the Adhishtanam only, because there cannot be any existence of a Jiva without the support of Brahman. So Brahman is right there. So what should I do in order to recognize Brahman? I have to look within. Why? Now he is also outside also. I have to look within means I have to use the intelligence to find out, because this together, Anyonya Adhyasa, is mixed together, and what Swami Chinmayananda calls is unholy marriage of that which is pure Satchidananda with the matter together is occurring, and in order to separate, they are not physically separable. I have to use intellect only. Just as I cannot separate the ring and the gold. So ring is gold, gold is ring, but they cannot be inseparable, and yet ring is different from gold. Because bangle is also gold, which is different from bangle. Ring is different from bangle. Therefore, gold is a substantive adhishtanam for the ring. From the ring it came, from the gold it came, by gold it sustained, into gold it goes back. So what is a ring? Ring is only transactionally real, since its utility is different from bangle. So ring is transactionally real. That's essentially Vyavaharika Satyam. Same way, the whole world is transactionally real, but not absolutely real. Hence, in Advaita, we have a degree of reality called ontological status of each has to be different. And we go into the next sloka. So here the statement is, without the Adhishtanam, I cannot have the Jiva. So Jiva, even Moksha, even for liberation also, he needs the Satchidananda as a support also. With that, we stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.